So how would I rank Amy Adams' 6 Oscar nominations? Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome to the awards contender. I have not ranked an actor or actress's nominations in a while. Last summer, I did it for Meryl Streep, and that took me so long. It took me so long to go through all 21 of her nominations. I decided to take a break, but I thought I would do a few more of those this year. Let's begin with Amy Adams for 2025. One of my favorite actresses, someone I've made an Elusive Oscar video for. I just did a top 10 video about her best Oscars moments. She is someone I think we all want to win an Oscar one day soon, right? And every year I'm always looking at okay, what projects does she have coming up? What might she get in for? And yeah, it's been kind of a rough few years if you're an Amy Adams fan. She's working all the time, but she's not popping up in very good films, Night Bitch was probably the best one she's done since 2018, around there. And even that's kind of underperformed. It only got her in at the Golden Globes and nowhere else. I don't know about you, but I have high hopes Amy Adams will be back at the Oscars, hopefully soon. But until that day, let's rank her 6 Oscar nominations. What do I think was the best? Which one do I think is the worst? I do think this one is pretty obvious, right? Number 6 is Best Supporting Actress, Vice.
And now you're just going to be a lush that hangs power lines for the state? Are you going to live in a trailer? We're going to have 10 kids? Is that the plan?
Discuss this later, please.
No, we're going to discuss this right now while you smell like vomit.
So yeah, this nomination for Amy Adams, it's okay, fine, I guess. Vice was a perfectly good movie. I liked it. I didn't love it. I thought, of all the performances in that film, the one to give nominations to was Christian Bale as Dick Cheney. That was a physical transformation like we rarely see in the movies. That's a pretty great performance from Bale. It's kind of unlike anything else he's done. But I wasn't a huge fan of the other 2 acting Oscar nominations. I really don't like that supporting actor nomination for Sam Rockwell as George W. Bush. That just felt really lazy from the Academy to nominate him for that. And then Amy Adams getting in as Lynn Cheney. She is good in that film. She's got a few notable scenes. She's not bad or anything. This is not a terrible performance. I just think of her 6 Oscar nominations, this is the weakest one, the most forgettable, the most obvious in a way. It's we gotta fill in the category Best Supporting Actress. What did Amy Adams do this year? Oh, she's in Vice, playing a real-life person, and she's solid. So let's put her in. It just felt kind of meh, really. You knew she wasn't going to win for that. That was never going to happen. Even though she was on her 6th nomination, she had no chance in hell of winning. She couldn't even win at SAG when Regina King, who eventually won the Oscar in that category for If Beale Street Could Talk, King wasn't even nominated at SAG, and they still went with someone else. They went with Emily Blunt for A Quiet Place, one of the most inspired SAG wins, I would say, ever. It's the SAG voters said, well, King's not here, let's give it to someone who's not even nominated at the Oscars. That's how little we care about Amy Adams in Vice. So, it doesn't make me mad that she got in for that, even though Emily Blunt would have been a better nomination at the Oscars that year for A Quiet Place. Anytime Amy Adams gets an Oscar nomination, I'm a happy guy, I'm great, cool. I just think of the 6, this is easily the weakest one. Number 5, Best Actress, American Hustle.
Are we doing this? You playing him? It'd be very bad for you if you're playing me.
You're going to have to decide for yourself, Kit. I just laid everything out on the table.
So this is where you might disagree with me in this ranking. You might have the American Hustle nomination a little bit higher up. She's very good in that film, very sexy and confident. It's unlike most of her performances, and she's one of the best things about that movie. It's Amy Adams' only Oscar nomination for Best Actress. Every other time it's supporting actress, so that's kind of cool. So why do I have American Hustle ranked at 5 and not like 2 or 3 or 4 or something? To be honest, I've talked about this on the channel before. I get next to nothing out of that movie. To this day, I don't understand what everybody saw in it. I don't understand how it got 10 Oscar nominations. Everything about that movie I found to be uneven, kind of a slog. Even though the performances are pretty good, there's something holding me back when it comes to that movie. Nothing feels real, authentic. It just feels like good actors playing dress up with fancy wigs and hair and things and gorgeous 70s costumes. Like, the narrative to American Hustle never comes to life for me. So even though I can recognize that Amy Adams is doing a very good job in that movie, the character she plays just feels kind of one note. So yeah, it would feel weird to me to rank this at like number 2, number 3. Like, I don't feel that in my heart, for this performance, this nomination. I'm happy she got in. She was never going to win, of course. That was the year of Cate Blanchett and Blue Jasmine. She just swept the season, man. Like, even though Amy Adams finally won a Golden Globe Award for her performance, she got the Golden Globe for American Hustle in comedy or musical. Like, she couldn't compete with Blanchett. I do think Emma Thompson deserved to get into the Oscars that year in Best Actress for Saving Mr. Banks, but I would probably take out Meryl Streep for August Osage County. I would keep Amy Adams in there. I think she deserved to be nominated. She's got some wonderful scenes, like her dancing moment with Bradley Cooper is fantastic. And she's got this quality in American Hustle I do gravitate to. It's a solid performance. This is not a bad nomination. I just don't care for that movie at all. And so even though she's good in it, Christian Bale's good, Jennifer Lawrence has some funny moments, it's not one of my favorites. I don't think it's anything special. So yeah, I would rank this one at number 5. Sorry. Number 4, Best Supporting Actress, Doubt.
Doubt. He was talking about doubt.
Why?
Excuse me, sister?
So did I surprise you again? I probably surprised you again. Going through the ranking this morning, I thought about having Doubt a little bit higher, but comparing it to the other 3 films and performances I'm going to talk about, the thing with Doubt, even though Amy Adams is great in that movie, perfectly cast, does a wonderful job with that character, I think of the 4 nominated performances for Doubt, she is the least. She's the weakest one of the 4 if I had to choose. I think compared to Meryl Streep and Philip Seymour Hoffman and Viola Davis, Amy Adams I would rank at the bottom there. So that's kind of why I have this at number 4. I think even though she is solid in that movie, and there's no other way for Amy Adams to play that character to make her like more memorable or more fiery or something, like she plays it at just the right notes. I mean, talk about perfect casting at that time in her career, coming off of Junebug and Enchanted. Like, Amy Adams, for that character in Doubt, that was casting perfection. And she's got some wonderful moments in that movie. Many of them are with Streep. Some of them are with Hoffman. And she's got so many layers to her. That moment at the end when Streep breaks down crying and how she comes to her side with no words to be said. She just needs to comfort this woman who has become a close friend. It's a very good performance. I think it's a well-deserved Oscar nomination, even though in that category, if I had to reward one of those 2 people from Doubt with an Oscar win, it would have been Viola Davis for her all-timer scene in that movie. I mean, that's one of the great supporting actress nominations of the decade, I would say. Now, kind of like with Vice and American Hustle, Amy Adams had no shot to win that night for Doubt. Again, if someone from that movie would have won, it would have been Viola Davis, hands down. Penelope Cruz won that night for Vicky Cristina Barcelona. She became the new favorite in the category when Kate Winslet, who had been winning a bunch of things there for The Reader, got bumped up to lead actress at BAFTA and the Oscars for The Reader. So then Penelope Cruz, for her fiery performance in Vicky Cristina Barcelona, she became the frontrunner there. But that was a really great category that year at the Oscars, Best Supporting Actress. So many wonderful performances in the category. It would have felt wrong if the other three main cast members from Doubt had gotten in, but not Adams. Like, that would have been weird. So I'm happy she's there. This is a great Oscar nomination for Adams. It's just not one of her very best. Number 3, Best Supporting Actress, The Master.
No, this isn't a discussion, it's a grilling. There's nothing I can do for you if your mind has been made up.
Alright, so this is a very cool Oscar nomination. In some ways, I rank this a little bit higher than I initially expected to, because compared to like every other Oscar nomination she got, this was the one she could have easily missed. The Academy did not really go for The Master. It's not in picture, director, it's not in any technical categories. The Master did not get an Oscar nomination for cinematography. That is batshit crazy that that movie didn't get into cinematography. Come on. But it did, thank God, get into 3 acting categories. Best Actor for Joaquin Phoenix, Best Supporting Actor for Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Best Supporting Actress for Amy Adams. Again, for Adams especially, that was a nomination that could have slipped through the cracks. I think the more memorable, like the bigger performances in that movie are Phoenix and Hoffman, hands down. Like, if we're only going to give that film 2 acting nominations, it would have been the guys, it would have been those two. That Amy Adams got the Oscar nomination for The Master. A brilliant, subtle performance through and through. Nothing like overly flashy from her in that. She's got some wonderful moments with Hoffman where you can see there's like blood boiling beneath the surface, but she doesn't lash out. She doesn't have a big like Beatrice Straight network scene, where it's like, oh my God, we have to give her the Oscar nomination. She never really has that moment in The Master. So I think the nomination in Supporting Actress that year is inspired. That they thought of Adams in The Master, a movie they didn't much care for. I loved it. That movie made my top 10 of the year. I think that is a frickin' phenomenal piece of filmmaking. The narrative is strong, the cinematography is out of this world great, and those 3 performances are fantastic. So in some ways, because of the 6 nominations, this is the one she could have easily missed, and because it's truly beautiful, subtle work throughout that film, that's why I have this ranked a little bit higher than some of you might have. I feel like some of you might put it at number 5 or number 4 or something. I would have it a little bit higher, even though she was never going to win. Again, as I've been talking about in this whole video, Amy Adams has never once come close to winning an Oscar. You could make a couple arguments, like as we'll get to. For The Master, she had no shot in hell. There is this interview clip where she's talking to Piers Morgan on the red carpet. He asks her, like, are you prepared to win? And she's like, no. She's like, nope. I am not winning for this one, even though I am on my 4th nomination. Like, she knew she had no shot in hell of winning that night over Anne Hathaway. Hathaway had won pretty much everything that season. She had that Oscar victory in the bag. Amy Adams was just happy to be there, but this is still, I think, one of her better Oscar nominations. Number 2, Best Supporting Actress, Junebug.
I have a half-brother, but he's gone now, so that's why this is pretty much my family, and children are the most important thing. They're so important.
What a special performance this is from Amy Adams. Truly the performance that made her what she is today. She had been working all throughout the early 2000s. Her debut in film came in Drop Dead Gorgeous 1999, and then she's in a bunch of movies and TV for a few years after that. She pops up in Catch Me If You Can by Steven Spielberg. She's got a memorable moment in that. But her breakthrough was absolutely Junebug in 2005. In a giant ensemble cast of great actors and performances, she is the standout. She is so funny and quirky and moving in that film as a pregnant woman who's very idealistic, but also has a lot of layers to her. She's so complex, and you never quite know what she's going to say or do. It makes sense to me, as good as Junebug is, that its one Oscar nomination was for Amy Adams in supporting actress. Like, I didn't think Junebug was going to do super well at the Oscars. I thought, well, maybe screenplay or something. But yeah, Adams makes sense. She's so freaking great in that. I'm so happy awards voters took notice of her performance in that. It was a very small film that premiered at Sundance, and it could have been overlooked, you know, as good as she is in that. It's such a small movie. Like, when it came to the Oscars, they might have passed her over for someone else, like a bigger name, bigger movie or something. Like, she was not nominated at the Golden Globes for Junebug. I don't think everyone remembers that. She didn't get in at the Globes. It was later that season when she started popping up everywhere in supporting actress. And, like, could she have won the Oscar that year over Rachel Weisz for The Constant Gardener? Probably not. Weisz won at Golden Globes and SAG before she won at the Oscars. So it would have been a shocker, I'd say, if Adams had pulled off a win at the Academy Awards. But Amy Adams did win in a tie in supporting actress at Critics' Choice with Michelle Williams for Brokeback Mountain. So Adams did win that. She won at Critics' Choice. So in a long saga of Amy Adams at the Oscars, in terms of movies like she had the slightest chance to win for, I would put Junebug right there at the top, because especially The Constant Gardener didn't get into picture, director, other acting categories. It's not like the Academy fully embraced The Constant Gardener. So, like, because of that, I guess you could say at the end there could have been a surge of voters for Amy Adams in Junebug. It's such a great, memorable performance. But no, Rachel Weisz won at the end, and here we are today. Amy Adams, 20 years later, 6 Oscar nominations, still has never won. They could have just given her the win that first time around for Junebug, and then we could all relax. You know, let's say Amy Adams has her Oscar trophy at home. But no, we are still in search for that elusive Oscar. Here is hoping she will win someday soon. Now, before I get to my number one choice, let me reveal what is the one Oscar nomination that got away from Amy Adams. She's, of course, been great in so many other films. She should have 7 or maybe even 8 nominations by now. And what is crazy, I would say, about this acting Oscar snub is that if she had gotten in for this performance, I would rank it at number 1. It would be my number 1 choice for her Best Acting Oscar nomination. Arrival, of course, from 2016, where she got in everywhere, from the Globes to Critics' Choice to SAG and BAFTA. She got in all over the place for Arrival, but then she missed the Oscar nomination, even though Arrival on Oscar nominations morning did extremely well. Got into picture, got into director, still the only director Oscar nomination to date for Denis Villeneuve. It got a bunch of technical nominations, it got into screenplay, but it missed an actress for Adams. That was weird. That's still very strange to me. I know Best Actress 2016 was very competitive, but as I talked about in my Oscar ranking video for Meryl Streep, did we have to nominate her for Florence Foster Jenkins? No. We could have nominated Amy Adams instead. She gives such a bravura performance in Arrival, dramatically, emotionally, the arc of her character, those flashbacks, her commands in those scenes when she is communicating with this alien life form every step of the way in Arrival. She is phenomenal in that role. She is smart, she is capable, and I do think it might be her best performance on film. And that she missed the Oscar nomination still bothers me a lot to this day. That shouldn't have happened. She should have gotten in. She should have 7 Oscar nominations by now, at least. And that would be my choice for number 1. However, since that nomination doesn't exist, sadly, I've got to pick something else for the number 1 Best Amy Adams Oscar nomination. You know, I thought about Junebug. I was toying with that at number 1. But you know what I'm going with? I'm going with Best Supporting Actress, The Fighter.
All right. I drank too much. I worked in a lot of bars. And I ruined a lot of opportunities, but I'm trying to do something better here. And so is Mickey.
I am choosing this as Amy Adams' greatest Oscar nomination to date because I think The Fighter showed Adams in a brand new light that really had an effect on the roles she'd be taking in the years to come. I would say by the end of the 2000s, most of us had an idea of what an Amy Adams performance looked like. You know, with Junebug and Enchanted, which also would have made a great Oscar nomination, by the way, Enchanted, and Doubt, there was a certain quality to Amy Adams on the screen that we came to expect. You know, very kind of soft-spoken, reserved, or cheery and bubbly. You know, she's there to make everyone around her happy and pleased. It did seem like she was going to be trapped in a box in a certain way, the types of performances she'd be allowed to give in film and television, but The Fighter changed all of that. She's not the soft-spoken, cheery character in that. This is a much harsher, broken down character who doesn't have all the answers, who's not trying to cheer up everybody around her. You know, she has this relationship with Mark Wahlberg's character. She cares about him, but she also wants to see him grow and change. She can be irritated, fed up with Christian Bale's character. And there's that classic moment where she goes off on those sisters, just starts punching down to the ground, like showing how physically capable she is of just being a badass in that movie. The Fighter was such an important step in her career. She got to show a different side of her screen persona that I would argue continued into American Hustle, into Nocturnal Animals in a sense, Sharp Objects to be sure. I don't know about you. I am always thrilled when an actor or actress I adore gets to show their stuff in a new kind of performance we have never seen from that artist. That was Amy Adams in The Fighter. And I do think of these 6 Oscar nominations she's had to date, that's the one she should have won for. Even over Melissa Leo in the same film, The Fighter, who won most everything that season. She didn't win at BAFTA. That went to Helena Bonham Carter for The King's Speech. And in some ways, I feel like Bonham Carter would have been in second place over Amy Adams there. So again, I don't think Adams had any shot, really, of winning Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars. For The Fighter, Melissa Leo has the bigger, flashier character in that, and she was coming off an Oscar nomination in Best Actress 2 years before for Frozen River. It just kind of felt like Leo's moment there, that year at least, and not Adams. I feel like Academy voters, every time Adams gets in, it's like, well, we love you and you're good in this movie, but you need to wait. You know, you have to wait for the next nomination. Maybe that will be your turn. It still hasn't happened for her. And because she's had kind of a dismal run of movies the last few years, since Hillbilly Elegy and The Woman in the Window and Dear Evan Hansen and Disenchanted and even Night Bitch, man, I'm just like, man, when is Amy Adams going to return to the Oscars? As of this recording, she has 2 films in post-production. Maybe one of those will come out later this year. Maybe she'll have a shot, like, to get back in. I don't know right now. That would be super awesome. I love Amy Adams at the Oscars. I want her to win an Academy Award. I still feel like it's going to happen. We've had to be very patient, but I think at some point, the right role, the right project, the right timing will happen for her. But if I had to pick right now her best Oscar nomination to date, even though I could have gone with pretty much everything, you know, she's gotten in for, most of her nominations are really great. I do think the best one of the 6 is The Fighter. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below, how would you rank Amy Adams' 6 Oscar nominations, and I'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.